All right, hey everyone. Joined today with Airplay Doc, just sort of a friendly, relaxing, chill stream before the Kickstarter campaign starts. Hope everyone had a great Thanksgiving and got the holidays coming up. How you doing today, Airplay?
Oh, I- I'm sorry to tell you, but I've been kind of, going through a kind of depressive episode recently. Thought didn't want to bring you down, but you
Well,
know,
don't break it down too much. I got the Kickstarter launching in December
yeah,
9th, so
yeah, it's ooh, just that my for the past year, my financial situation has not been the best that it could, and I've had to get another job on top of the two other jobs that I have. It all
yeah.
works out to at least 40 hours, so it works out well. And the new job that I got is right next to where I live, so it's very convenient for me.
Yeah, well, I hope everything works out, man. Wishing
Yeah.
you the best, of course.
Yeah, it's just that yeah, and these my various crowdfunding eh, my various crowdfunding resources, if I can share my screen for you right now, various yep. You got I recently dr- lowered the price to watch the complete Airplay documentary to $5 on my Patreon page right here, Metalhead Films. And I've got a GoFundMe up for the 10-year anniversary of Gamergate and Airplay. Hopefully I can set up some screenings and, you know, possibly celebrate the 10-year anniversary of Airplay, which is next year. And I got a single out that was commissioned for the soundtrack that was commissioned exclusively for this film called Gamers Are Dead, which you can find on many available streaming sites, as well as my YouTube channel, which you can find at Airplay Doc right here. And yeah, I probably shouldn't say that it hasn't been going as well as I hoped, because I have been able to raise money from it. And over the past year I've managed to get my name out I managed to get my name out there, appearing on several podcasts, yours most notable podcasts and live streams, yours most prominently Honey Badger Radio and the Eric Hunley podcast. Yeah, it's just kind of stifling that I've completed this film. I've been appearing on so many uh, outlets, but it's still difficult to try to get my but to try to get this out, to get people to know about this project, to promote this project, and for people to give me the financial, well, just the available assistance to get this known to a wider public.
Well, yeah, and for better or worse, the topic of Gamergate isn't one that a lot of people care about in the year 2024. But also, too, I think hopefully we'll see, right, with how mine goes,
Yeah,
my Kickstarter goes. But I think offering a product in return, I think, is what a lot of people, especially if it's a high quality product, I think that a lot of people that gravitate more towards that. Um, a lot of people, they might chip in like $5 or $10 here or there, but most people they don't. You're a content creator that they're watching basically, right? Or an artist to some extent. You're an artist that they're paying some attention to, but they're in order to get money, like for the most part, I think you really just have to focus on like delivering a good product to them, to the consumer. And if you do that,
Yeah.
then they'll be more willing to support your work because they're getting like a tangible thing out of it, or it could be digital too, right? But I think physical for
Yeah.
me is I think that's better, the hardcover. But like, for you could be physical copies of the film. I know that you said you did that a little bit already with the
Yes.
Blu-rays.
The Indiegogo campaign, which I believe was in 2021, which few got a few dozen people to donate, and I still am in the process of fulfilling their backer reward, just to let anybody know pro- who is probably a backer and probably listening to this. I haven't forgotten about you. It's just that I want to make sure that I cross every T and dot every I, because with a documentary like this, there is there fair use can only go so far, and I want to make sure that I'm not breaking any intellectual property laws that get me that could get me sued, or could get me in some kind of legalistic hot water. So, as anybody can see who donates to the Patreon, it's the film is complete. It is available. I just need the legal assistance to make sure that everything complies with fair use, and that I can, you know, put this thing on streaming services, make Blu-rays. I could, you know, make this available to a wider audience.
Well, and for those who don't know, actually, if you haven't seen Airplay Doc, the Airplay documentary, or if you have and you want to watch it again, eh, Kickstarter backers who buy one of the bundles, the Vivian James bundle, the Gilda Mars bundle, the Sea Lion bundle, or the Lillian bundle, if you buy one of the bundles, you actually get um, access to a private screening of the film, of the Airplay documentary, with Raymond Wellman, with the filmmaker right here, Airplay Doc, who's with us,
Yes.
and you get a Q&A with him. So definitely check out the bundles and get
Thank
this
you very much
incredible
for that.
experience. Yeah, and thank you
Yeah.
for thank you for agreeing to do that. And of course, I'll pay you. We agreed. I'll
Yeah.
pay you the for the each seat.
And make sure to be prepared for, like, for just, I don't know if we want to stream them both parts in a single day, because it is nearly 5 hours of just pure unfiltered autism.
I think personally, just
Yeah.
because. So here's I'm s- there's so I looked it up. You could have 25 people in a video Discord call.
Yes.
Um, so I'm selling 24. There's 24 spots available with the bundles. It actually worked out really great with how I had the bundle set up. So there's 24 spots altogether that I'm selling basically as part of the Kickstarter. Um, and one spot's for you, of course. And then the 24 are for the people who purchase it at that tier.
Yes.
So I actually won't be there.
Oh,
Though I
okay.
mean, like maybe. Oh, I don't want to make any problem. I don't think I'm going to swing by or anything. But yeah, I'm not personally going to be there for that. But yeah, it'll be great. You get to chat with Raymond, talk about his work and his findings and his research into GamerGate.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Or should we, like, again, should we, like, divide the screenings into part one and part
I
one is free to view.
I think doing both back to back part one and two. I mean, unless you're not up for it. I mean, I think that doing
Uh,
that would be better since you're trying to get 24 people together, and it'd be a lot easier for people to get one day that they can set aside, rather than set aside two. I feel. I mean, there's two different rewards that I'm personally offering that could potentially go more than one day for games, but the
yes.
vast majority of mine are one because I don't you can't try and schedule. I feel unless you, it's up to you. You can do whatever you want with it, but as long as the backers get their fulfillment. Um,
Yes.
but I feel like doing one big one would be best. It'd be like a whole day extravaganza, like on a Saturday or Sunday or something. But it's entirely your call.
Yeah. The with my current schedule and between my three jobs, it's I'm working practically 6 days a week. I'm well, most of the 6 days a week. And sometimes, you know, I may have an afternoon off one day, and so yeah, it's something that we'll have to plan for.
Okay, yeah. I mean, as long as they get their fulfillment,
Yes.
cool. Yeah.
Yes.
So have you seen the recent stuff with Twitch, where Twitch is under
No, I
people
haven't.
advertisers are pulling out of Twitch. Some of them are because of people like Hassan Piker promoting like anti-Semitism and terrorism. Uh,
Oh,
and so there's like an email campaign run by Dan Saltman mostly, but like using like similar tactics to GamerGate, where they're emailing the advertisers and asking them to pull out
yeah.
of Twitch, and actually having some luck with this. I think their tactics are interesting. They're also making websites. Uh, this is something that GamerGate could have done and should have done perhaps more, but didn't really like invest time into, I guess. But building like websites, like they have like DanClancySucks.com,
Yeah.
where Dan Clancy's the CEO. So he's like, so Dan Clancy sucks. Doc. I feel like having like the CEO's name or some high profile person I feel like that would be like an effective tactic. Like if we had I don't think Nick Denton would care, but like other people would. Um, if they're like doing like genuinely bad things, I think that like putting a spotlight on that could be interesting using this tactic. I don't know,
Uh,
but it sounds like you haven't followed this story at all.
no, I haven't followed it at all. And really, for Hassan Piker, I wouldn't really, unless you can show me something of him doing something really egregious. I find, you know, him saying offensive things to just not be a priority for me.
Yeah, I'm a free speech
And
person. You know,
yeah,
um, I I do think Twitch is hypocritical in how they enforce their rules, where
yeah,
like certain groups are it's okay to criticize and attack, and other groups it's not. But I would criticize the hypocrisy of it. But yeah, I'm not. I'm a
yeah,
free speech person. I don't really know how I feel about
yeah,
I mean, I think it's interesting that they're using the tactics of GamerGate, though. I mean, on one level, it's
yeah.
like all free speech, um, right? Like it's free speech for. Well, I don't. Hassan to promote terrorism, but I think it's also free speech too, I guess. But for people to email Twitch and for advertisers to decide for themselves if they want to support that content or not.
Am I the only one who, when Hassan Piker said America deserved 9/11, am I the only person who found it hilarious?
Well, I don't know if it's like funny. I mean, like obviously
Uh,
a lot of people tragically
because
lost their lives on 9/11. That's quite
it's
tragic.
because it just comes out of nowhere. He's he's going ape shit over this interview that Dan Crenshaw is he's listening to. This Dan Crenshaw interview he's listening to, and just out of nowhere he goes, "That's it. America deserved 9/11," and it just didn't. It just didn't. It just didn't fit with what was going on. That he just had that in the back of his mind, and just one thing after another just let it out.
Kraut was criticizing Hassan. People in his audience want him to make a video criticizing Hassan, um, but he's quite adamant against it. We talked about this in
Yeah.
my interview with him. It's actually there's gonna be a video clip coming out of it during the Kickstarter period. I'm sure that'll probably get
Yeah.
a lot of attention.
Yeah, and I don't know if Hassan Piker is somebody who's worth wasting time over.
You may be right. I think it's important to criticize. Like he is an influential person, unfortunately.
Yeah.
And he does have like a lot of influence in people who believe the things that he says and thinks that he's an honest broker and telling them the truth.
Yeah.
But when he promotes misinformation, I think that people should criticize that and call him out. Like, this shouldn't
Yeah.
be like the only thing that you do. Like dedicating your life to that would be like probably like a bad use of resources. But I think spending some amount of time focusing on debunking like misinformation, I think would be useful.
Hmm.
Is useful.
Yeah.
I'm doing a bunch of ask me anythings.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if that's like the right approach or strategy. I
Yeah.
wanted to do like a mix of interviews plus the ask me anythings plus I got a hashtag campaign coming out on December 21st, so that'd be exciting. Um, and I'm doing some Twitter Spaces most likely. So yeah, I'm gonna have a lot of different components to the marketing strategy of this.
Yeah.
Um, I'm not sure. Have you done any Ask Me Anythings or anything like that?
I did one with Kotaku in Action like around 2020. So,
Okay. Yeah, I did one in
yeah.
2019 on Kia, and I'm doing one on December 12th this year on Kia too. The topic's live now
Yeah.
if people want to submit their questions in advance, by the way. That one's actually getting some good questions in there.
Hmm.
So is Total War Center. Total War Center, the forums, they got some good
Hmm.
questions. A lot of activity on those two threads. A couple of the other forums, not as much. I know a couple of the other forums aren't necessarily as active, or that this isn't their main focus, which is okay. I knew that going in, but I thought it'd be useful to do some
Hmm.
smaller communities as well, and I think that that's great.
Hmm. Yeah, it's just the trouble is, you know, finding a way onto those platforms, finding a way onto those forums and platforms that get a lot of people's attention. And, you know, Eric Hunley was probably the first person to actually contact me about coming on to his program and, you know, talking about my film and the subject as a whole. And, you know, Eric Hunley has interviewed people like uh, John has interviewed John McAfee in the past. So he's got a pretty wide, substantial audience. Well, he's got a substantial audience, something that is not, you know, particularly mainstream, but was able to get my have my voice heard on that, and we've gotten a shout out by Leighton Woodhouse, the co-produce the co-founder of the Substack Public, which was chaired by Michael Schellenberger, who were was one of the first Substacks to get access to the Twitter files and whatnot. And yeah, the difficulty is just getting people to listen to is to just get people to listen to you in the first place. And just getting people to listen. And then there is the uh, problem of, you know, convincing them to buy what you're selling. And Yeah, that is just a whole another problem.
Yeah, I mean, I don't expect to live off of my work. I plan, I work a full-time job that I love, and
Mhm.
I'm focusing on my career there, and I'm also working on this too. So,
Yeah.
I'm only asking for $6,000 for my Kickstarter. I've estimated the costs, and with taxes and fee processing fees and Kickstarter fee, that's about what they recommend after my costs plus the taxes and fees. It would be about $6,000. So that's what I'm asking for. Um, Not too much, but I think it's a good starting ground to help me finish this project and get it done. And yeah,
Yeah. It's just that if anybody listening to this you know, has some advice, knows people, uh, knows of any outlets that would find this project interesting, don't feel free to inform us. If you know any fair use attorneys who are willing to work pro bono, just, you know, send that over to me because I could use it.
yeah, I've been playing some games lately. I've been playing. Well, do you like roguelikes?
Uh, I've played uh I've played The Binding of Isaac and Enter the Gungeon. I've racked up hundreds of hours on both of those.
Oh, I've not played those. I've recently played Slay the Spire and Dead Cells though, both of which are pretty fun.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I'm playing Control now. Have you played that?
Oh, yeah, I recently played that. I, yeah, I've been recent. Yeah, I played that over fairly recently. Like, if yeah, it's the concept is good. The gameplay is fun though. It really feels like the set dressing and the story and the gameplay just kind of operate in two separate universes. Like there's not much. Well, there is the character get when the character gets superpowers, but most of it you're just shooting people with a gun.
Oh no, you got to use the abilities, bro.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Uh,
I really love the gameplay and the whole game overall. Except I feel like after I beat the game, it looked like wow, there's gonna be all this indie game content. Um, but like there's not. There's like
yeah.
okay, there's a bunch of like kind of silly side missions, and the two DLCs were good, I guess. I do like
Hmm.
the two DLCs, especially the AWE one. I feel like that was a good mix of horror and then revisiting those locations too. After, have you played the DLC?
Yes, I have.
Okay, yeah, I thought facing up against the darkness creature, I don't remember his name,
Yeah.
but going up against him and like in all these different scenarios, um and then revisiting those same scenarios. So the lunar lander site where
Yes.
they staged the moon landing essentially, supposedly.
Yeah.
Uh, like I had no idea that stuff was there when it was so dark because I was like
Mhm.
frantically trying to like survive. But seeing all that and exploring it um, when the lights were on was actually really cool.
Mhm.
But what do you got for me?
Well, not sure what I can say because I've pretty much dumped out all of my gotten my therapy session over. My therapy session over with. And yeah, recently all I've been concentrating on is, you know, getting new work, getting the new job, and, you know, getting some. I've also been concentrating on getting a job that is, a step up in my career. Like you said, you've got a job outside of the project that you were working on that's related to Gamergate, and I just need something that is an advancement in my career. And from what the because and it looks like there might be some opportunities open because the job that I applied to, that I just got, it turns out that the owner's sons, and he brought this up during the interview. He saw that I majored in film, and he said that's what his two sons both majored in, and you know they within the industry. So I want to try to ingratiate myself to the owner of the place, and I kind of see right now that where the industry is going, I really and want to, it seems that the industry is heading in the way of generative AI. And we've spoken before about how I'm really interested in, the opportunities that look like is is being made available through generative AI. And I believe you've had like some kind of counterpoint to that. I don't know what it is.
Well,
But
I, in the sense that I'm pro AI, I guess. I mean, like I'm not like I think that AI could be interesting. I think that
yeah,
I mean I don't know what specifically we would want to talk about. Like if you want to talk about like art in AI, like I would think that I'm not an expert on this topic by any stretch of the imagination, but I think it's probably good to have AI art. I think that I personally I love artists. I pay artists. I'm paying artists for my covers. Um, but I also think that the possibilities of having the democratization of art to some extent through like allowing people to have their own like holodeck experience, or you tell the AI, hey, create me a movie uh, with these parameters that things like that. I think that could be interesting. I think that the potential for humanity and exploring not just humanity but exploring um, the potentials that might hold for I guess our species and for art is something worth considering and looking at. Now, does that mean that there aren't possible concerns? Yeah, sure, there could be. I know that some artists are concerned about AI art, and I want to hear what they have to say, but I'm not an expert on this topic.
yeah, because I've been following, the generative AI video community, and there's some really and people have already made some really, really interesting work. Like, may I share the screen?
Ah, sure.
Yeah, like this guy Neural Viz, and he's created an entire. He just started making random videos, and he managed to like make them interrelated in a project that he calls the
Here at Gomo
Monoverse.
Corp, we know
Yeah, like this right here is all like all this imagery that is all AI generated. And what's particularly good are the unanswered oddities videos. Like I'll
Want to charge
play
really fast?
I'll play one right here. Are you Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Yeah, okay. Oh, no.
On tonight's episode of Unanswered Oddities, humans. Are they real or just a youngling's fairy tale? Humans have been a great mystery of our time. These creatures of lore
Can you hear it?
supposedly ate potatoes and enjoyed
I
sleep.
can hear it.
They're thought to be long extinct, if they ever existed at all. But recent sightings
Well, let's
all
not
across
watch
the world
anything
have drummed
too
up the
lengthy,
debate
okay?
once
That's
again.
Okay.
Moral.
Yeah.
yeah.
As I said, he's got an entire like series of these videos that just expand upon this whole universe that he's made his own little self-contained universe with these kinds of videos.
I wonder how I could
And
get it to stop watching. Something that could be useful to learn.
yeah. Yeah, and there are other creators that I'm
But I could leave the.
on of like animals eating animals. You
But
have
like, what do you
to,
find interesting about AI art and AI or AI
yeah,
video creation?
it's that it just allows people to create just incredibly vivid imagery using, well, you know, without needing, without needing, you know, like a big studio, that you're just creating these really indelible images through that just seem to they that just seem to spring out of the collective that just seems to spring out of the collective imagination of humanity. And that's kind of that's one way to look at AI. It is going through all of the imagery and video that humanity has created and is using it is like going through what Carl Jung would call the collective unconscious and creating new imagery out of that. Like you see all this imagery that's like some it looks like it's was filmed in the 1960s, but it's something that is impossible to just but it's almost impossible to conceive of in a live action format. You see?
I'm
And
not watching
there's
right now, but
you're not no. Oh, you're mi- missing some cool imagery here.
Whew.
Yeah, just the idea that using AI we could create imagery that was just impossible previously.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know that huge amount about AI art or that scene. I think that it could be interesting to learn more about.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not streaming on Twitch right now. I'm not sure why, so I have to look into that. Failed to connect.
Yeah. How long did you want to go for?
I was just thinking like an hour, but because I
Yeah,
got to get up early tomorrow.
as do I. And
Phew. Well, anything else you want to talk about?
Aside from the AI art, uh, not much that I can think of.
Okay. Well, hey. All right. Well, thanks for joining me. Thanks for joining me, Raymond. And be sure to check out Airplay Documentary and also check out the Kickstarter December 9th. Also, give some love to some of the smaller forums too. Of course, the big AMAs, Kotaku in Action and Total War Center, those as well. But also
Yeah.
politicsforum.org, GG Discussion, the First Amendment, Joy Freak, Book Lovers Book Reviews, and I'm also doing one on 8chan V, possibly D-pad as well. So yeah, should be great. Should be great. Check those out, and then also check out the upcoming interviews. People will be interviewing me about the project, and
Uh,
December 20,
who's
December 21st. Do
who's
what?
interviewing you for the project?
So a lot of people. Wick TV is interviewing me on launch day, December 9th.
Mm-hmm.
And then Counterpoints is going to be interviewing me, Vincent Martin as well. And
Oh, for a second, I thought you were referring to ContraPoints there.
no, Counterpoints.
Counter.
He
No,
runs
sorry.
Counterfire with Brianna Wu. Though
Oh,
Brianna Wu's not going to be at the interview. I don't believe. I think it's just him and I.
oh yeah, she's been doing the rounds recently.
And
She
then I'm
was on
also good.
yeah, she was on the Trigonometry podcast, and she was on the Quillette podcast,
Well,
and
I did see. I don't pay too much attention to Brianna Wu, but I did see that she was on the Barry Weiss, honestly, with Barry Weiss,
yeah,
and she claimed that GamerGate was right wing, and like Barry Weiss actually said that. She said that GamerGate, that Trump is the GamerGate candidate. Barry Weiss said, asking Brianna Wu. Brianna Wu agreed with that. It's like what?
yeah. I left a comment on the episode. Yeah, I left a lengthy comment on the episode comment sections, and it has gotten some good feed, and it has got some likes, and
Yeah, well,
yeah,
I criticized Chris Ferguson and I talked about it. It wasn't really a planned topic, but just kind of came up. We because I think he brought it up actually, I believe, but he brought up the interview, or I brought up the interview, somebody did, and we were talking about it, and we criticized them. We went through and, and talked about how the free press was misrepresenting Gamergate with
yeah,
this, perhaps unintentionally, but even so, that's a problem. They should definitely look at that. And I also emailed them and wrote a letter to the editor that they didn't publish. So
yeah,
yeah.
yeah. And I've also told you, I asked you previously, do you think, and that might be a good thing to cover here, do you think that with the reelection of Donald Trump, that would create new interest in some people of revisiting Gamergate?
No, I don't think so. I don't see why it would.
Well, it
I mean, there might be people who
is,
think that Gamergate got Trump elected, right? Because
yeah,
that's a narrative that's out there. But I don't know if any like serious people believe that. I'm not even sure the people who wrote those articles believe that.
yeah,
They're not
and
willing to
there,
talk about it. I've reached out to them and they agreed to interviews, and then they back out of the interview and never show up. So, so it
yeah,
doesn't seem like they believe in their position too strongly either.
and there are people who mentioned the who noticed the rightward shift in men, and you know there are people who would probably tie that back to game, and people who would probably tie that back to Gamergate, and
I don't know. I mean, like the people who most likely would do that are like the woke people, and I feel like they're a dying
yeah,
breed these days. They definitely still exist. They still have some power for sure, but I feel like they're on their way out. I feel like that
yeah,
that ideology had its day in the spotlight.
I do too. Though the subject might be of interest to people who are not overtly woke, and people who might recognize that that Gamergate was really the beginning of a lot of the culture war issues that we are dealing with today.
What do you think about Gamergate and the culture war? I ask everybody about this, or at least some framing thereof. But what do you think of that? Almost
I
everybody. I ask.
Yeah, I think it really presaged. I'm not sure if I'm using that word correctly. It really kind of well reflected a lot of what was pretty much a microcosm for a lot of the things that we are still arguing about to this day, even 10 years later. We're still arguing about feminism and diversity and, what some would say, and trust in the media. And right now, the trust in media has hit all-time lows and cannot help but feel that the people who laughed at the concept of ethics in journalism, who, even if it was just about ethics in games journalism, that if you are laughing over the idea that journalists should not have ethics, even in a niche category such as video games, that could only spill out into the wider world where we're now seeing just me entire legacy media outlets who have just discarded any kind of pretense to ethics or objectivity and are now paying a very steep price for it.
Yeah, I mean, I think that trust in institutions, the decline of trust in institutions, including the media, but more broadly as well, has well, I think it's caused a lot of problems. And I think also too that it's probably what more or less it's part of the reason that Trump won, and that people were misinformed about
Because
topics like January 6th. They just the media that they were paying attention to just never talked about it or would spread misinformation. Um,
Yeah.
I think it's a major issue, and there's misinformation that comes from the mainstream media too, which degrades the trust even further. So it's
Yeah.
just it's all a problem.
In
I don't know
my
how you
view,
solve it. Go ahead.
it's the legacy media and mostly they've become a monoculture that only services uh a small niche portion of the population who mainly dwell in coastal and urban areas and are mostly college educated and care about a very narrow portion of a very narrow selection of subjects. They found out that they could, make that they could make a lot of money catering to a very small but dedicated portion of the population, and it is presenting them with a very distorted view of reality.
Yeah, but the
Mhm.
distortions don't just come from the mainstream media. Unfortunately, the distortions come from everywhere. Like everything is the media now. Twitter, right?
Yeah,
It's a news company. That's what they consider themselves to be.
yeah, they, pro- yeah, they probably shouldn't consider
I mean, I don't
themselves.
know. They kind of are, right? Like they might not be wrong about that.
Yeah, though, like with the just today we have the United Healthcare CEO who was just gunned down earlier this morning in New York City. I the first the first information about it, I got it from Ground News, which is just a which I think is just a better model for news delivery going forward. But I also checked the X Twitter app just to see what people were saying, and of course, it was a lot of people celebrating the fact that this health insurance CEO just got gunned down. In
Yeah, I think the first place I
yeah,
saw it was on Reddit, and it was the social democracy subreddit, and they they actually the topic was them celebrating it's R.I.P. Bozo, I think it was. But actually, one of the top comments was calling them out for this, saying that it was
yeah.
inappropriate. And
Mhm.
I saw people on Twitter were going nuts about it, celebrating too. That's not. I don't endorse that. That's why would like do they even care who the specific even CEO is? Like, do they even know like, oh, this guy did X Y or Z specific thing that's really bad, or do they just not like him because he's a successful capitalist, right? Essentially, he's uh he's a business leader in the healthcare industry.
Well,
That's
in the
basically it,
health
I feel.
insurance
Health
industry,
insurance industry, yeah.
yeah, it's because the health insurance industry,
Well, people don't.
along with the healthcare
Yeah,
industry, is a massive bureau is a massive conglomeration of financial interests that do major harm to society, to American society.
yeah. I mean, perhaps. I mean, I'm more of a universal healthcare person.
Yeah,
I'm kind of agnostic how we get there, as long as it's like an efficient system.
yeah. I've got my own ideas about healthcare. I don't think that a single payer could work in America because Vermont attempted to install a single payer system and it failed miserably before it even got started.
I don't know if you can do it at the state level though, really, because
Yeah.
because the people at the state level, like in Vermont, let's say, they would still, I think, presumably have to pay into the federal system still, so they'd still have to pay for like Medicare and Medicaid. I would assume. They can't like opt out of that as a state. Um, and then two, on top of that too, I feel like the risk pool of doing it at the state level is just like not good enough. I feel like you'd have to do something like that nationwide. Um,
Though I
but
think
like, I don't think single payer is like the best way either, though. So
yeah, I think Japan's health from what I've read about Japan's healthcare system, uh it's a lot more uh a model that America could probably adapt to a lot better. That's because it's a kind of like what Obamacare was originally supposed to be. It was everybody has a mandate to buy health insurance. Most of it is provided by local unions and businesses. They've got their own versions of Medicare and Medicaid uh, for the old, infirm, and the poor. Though the and over 90% of Japan and over 90% of hospitals in Japan are privately owned and operated. So the major difference is that prices are set at the province level. So every so healthcare licensed doctors and healthcare professionals gather together every year and they set the prices uh that every single healthcare that every single doctor or healthcare outlet should charge.
All right.
And
Well, yeah, I don't know anything about
yeah,
Japanese healthcare.
yeah, the difference is that in America, the prices are pretty much set at random at the call of the healthcare are set at random at the call of the healthcare professional. And
All right. Well,
uh,
hey, Raymond, do you want to go ahead and shout yourself out, and then I'll do an announcement real quick, and then we'll wrap it up.
yeah, I'm yeah, let me just share my screen here. That is, you can watch the complete Airplay documentary on my Patreon at patreon.com/metalheadfilms. I have a Indiegogo raising money for the further promotion and distribution of the film, hopefully by the time of the 10-year anniversary of the Airplay discussion. That will get done. And I have a single promoting the film that was commissioned exclusively for the film, Gamers Are Dead, which you can find at many streaming services such as Spotify, Apple Music, iTunes, Amazon, and whatnot. Tachyon, thank you for for allowing me to join you tonight, and thank you for essentially letting me get a lot of stuff off my chest. And I hope your Kickstarter is very successful.
Thank you. Yeah, and no problem at all. So yeah, actually, I've got here's some upcoming events for you. Um, December 9th is Kickstarter launch day, so you should have backed the Kickstarter on December 9th. It'll run for 30 days. Also on December 9th, I'm being interviewed by Wick TV. December 12th, I'm doing an Ask Me Anything on Kotaku in Action on Reddit. December 13th, I'm being interviewed by Vincent Martin. December 14th, I'm being interviewed by Counterpoints. December 17th, I'm doing the Ask Me Anything on the Total War Center forums. December 21st, we've got the Ask Me About GamerGate campaign on Twitter and Blue Sky. December 22nd, I'm doing an Ask Me Anything on politicsforum.org. December 23rd, I'm doing an Ask Me Anything on GG Discussion. December 27th, I'm being interviewed by Badger Arcade, Honey Badger Arcade. December 28th, I'm doing an Ask Me Anything on the First Amendment forum. January 3rd, another AMA on the Joy Freak forums. And then January 5th, I'm doing one on V on 8chan. January 6th, I'm being interviewed by Catherine D. And January 7th, I'm doing an AMA on the Book Lovers Book Reviews forum. So yeah, a lot of stuff coming up here. I'm also trying to probably get a couple Twitter spaces in there, maybe one or two at least, and maybe some other promotional things too. I'm told by people who have done these things before that that most of the attention is going to be on it once it launches. So we'll see. We'll see what else comes up, what other ideas I have, and yeah, stay tuned.
Okay,
All
thank
right,
you.
thank
And
you.
I'll make sure to keep abreast of those things.
Yeah,
Yeah.
thanks for coming on,
Okay.
Raymond, and take care, my friend.
You too.